Hey,
Hello?
Em, how's it going?
Oh, I barely
It's,
survived it. I think I had too
it
much
was
fun.
it was good to see you make the plane for South by Southwest last
Well,
week.
just.
It's quite exciting to see you running for the thing. It gave me a little bit of it made me laugh. So I'm glad you made it. How was it?
It was exceptional. It's a, I haven't been to anything like that in a really long time. And being a participant meant that I had some kind of hard set things that I needed to do. And we'll talk about one of those things today. But just being completely immersed in an environment where there was this intersection of tech and music and learning, it was all my favorite things professionally in one place. Um, and what happens when you're really immersed in something like that is you start to take away impressions of what's happening in those industries. And I'll talk about two talks that I went to that would demonstrate that. But the 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 big impression I got was one, there'll always be whingers. Like, it doesn't matter how much free alcohol or coffee or, lovely, smiling, helpful people there are, there's always gonna be people that are gonna have a whinge. Uh,
A whinge
and
about
I
the
always
event.
find it
Yeah.
so shocking when in those environments where I'm like, they really have done such a great job, everyone's being so helpful and so friendly, and still people are whinging. That always shocks me. And then
Yeah.
the second thing is that, um the idea that really consolidated for me is that without humans, tech doesn't have a purpose. So there was a lot of talk about the end to end experience, which is not really a phrase I'd connected with or understood. I'd heard it in around said around me, but didn't really understand it. And the impression I really got walking away was that that end to end experience, it has to be bookmarked with humans at either end of any tech creation. And that kind of ameliorated a lot of my fears around AI taking human jobs, because at the end of the day, tech is being created to serve us. And without
Yeah.
humans to serve, it won't exist. And so that will always keep, to some extent, the human in the picture, where it has to be humans demonstrating a need, and then tech, in this instance, AI, creating a solution. And then at the other end of the humans experiencing that solution. And so that was something that gave me a lot of optimism. There was a talk that I went to. I'm not sure if you've heard of Dept. They're a company that does the marketing. I understand it for a lot.
How's that? How's that spelled? What's that?
DEPT.
Okay.
They describe themselves as innovative solution makers for whatever. But um, what I understand, or pioneering technology and marketing services company brand that creates end-to-end digital experiences for brands such as Google, Audi, Patagonia, eBay, like all the big guys. But I went to their talk. It was in this beautiful Chinese garden. It was really hot. It was
Mm.
packed to the ceiling. And there were three speakers on the panel. One was an Australian guy called Emerson Keenan, who's the CEO and CTO at Carly Healthcare. So what Carly Healthcare does, in my very light on understanding, is that they create wearable tech that can help reduce risk. Um, or one of the iterations of their tech is reduce risk for women who are having babies. And also what
Yeah.
that results is they get seen to a lot sooner when there is a crisis. And that also means they can spend more time at home, without having to sit around. Like, I don't think you've ever been pregnant, Craig, so you wouldn't know this. But one of the most difficult things about being pregnant is knowing when to ask for help. Like, how long do you
Yeah.
leave it? And then also when you go in there, they're sitting around for a really long time while they monitor you. And so if we can create these wearable monitors that you don't have to go into the hospital for, but when it flags it, when it is a crisis,
Yeah.
that's useful, and using AI for that. And then there was Eric Newcomb, who's the director of customer success for Asia Pacific at Spotify. Is a very um, looks very similar to my Eric, my husband actually. But he looked very dapper in his white linen suit. But I was really struck by how you can be very smiley and friendly and still have a killer instinct in business. He is the
Yeah.
embodiment of that. Really, like, we're here to do work, and let's just I think Shopify, I got the impression they give people a lot of freedom as long as you can justify your contribution and get the job done and do something innovative. So he was interesting. But the person I wanted to speak about was Leah Safina. who's the
Yep.
AR VR design lead at Google, and she was there, very warm, down to earth woman. And she just really kept driving home the idea of how important balance is. You know, that a lot of our focus in tech is around optimization and how do humans do more. And she was talking about how for her, when AI first came out, she just dove straight in and started becoming so productive, and everything she was producing was yielding. But what was happening to her as a human being was that her mind wasn't able to keep up with that level of productivity. And it started to undermine her well-being as a human. And so there's we have an accountability as human beings to regulate our use of tech, because just because you can be productive and just because it's yielding profit or yielding whatever outcome it is that tech is designed to do doesn't necessarily mean it's good for you as a human. And just hearing someone who's that senior in such a big tech industry be that candid about it uh, was really good, because it gave everyone else in the room license to go, okay, maybe I do need to take a bit more ownership around my the way. And she wasn't speaking for Google, she was speaking for herself and her own experience. But you know, how important it is for us to each individually take ownership of our own tech usage. And just because you can do something doesn't mean you should.
Yeah, I've found this because I obviously use it a lot, and I've got and what I found, I was experimenting with music over the weekend because I'm a frustrated musician, and getting into looking at how I can use AI to actually create a lot of the compositions. And I realized that I kind of had this way of working, and now I'm layering this extra thing on top of it, and I'm translating between the AI world,
Yeah.
the old way of doing it. And I realized that, a lot of people that start out now in music creation, for example, will not have that extra layer. They'll just start up. And even this podcast is recorded using two new tools. I suppose from a shout out, Squadcast and Descript. And Descript has a completely different
Mm.
interface for editing that's built in the AI world. It's a lot more. If you go back to your end-to-end human, it's a lot more human. So if I say a bad word, I can just go and search for that word and delete it, and it'll be removed from the video. And that's
Wow.
something that previously you'd need to, you'd have to take a time spot where it was, and then go back and cut and paste and join the thing
I
together.
think only
But now
music and
it's
tech. Sorry, go ahead.
so there's two things happening. I think as we layer on AI on top of our existing way of doing it, it does have this huge cognitive load, and you still need time away from tech, absolutely. But then I think
Right.
the AI, because a lot of its natural language, is actually a more human way of engaging with technology, because we are a language-based species. And so I think as people learn how to connect with the technology without thinking about the old way of doing it, that'll become perhaps more natural and less of a cognitive load. It's just something I've noticed over the last couple of
Yeah,
days.
and it reminds me though that if we go back to what is the tech for, you could ask the same thing of music, like who are you creating it for? And if, you know, some musicians would say, well, the music you're creating using AI is going to be shit, but that doesn't matter if you're feeling creatively fulfilled from it. Like not all music's made for the same audience. Some of it's made for the edification of like I'm sitting here looking at my bookshelf full of bits of pottery that I've made, and there's some really beautiful pieces there, but you know, this little sake jug's not being used for sake, it's being used for pens. And there's another one here that's being used for jewelry or to hold my other stuff. And it's, you know, I didn't make those to make usable stuff that was going to be useful for anyone else. I did it for the process of making it. And
I've got nothing here to show. I show off now. I'm looking around trying to
it,
find
well,
something.
you know, and then I've got unfinished pieces that didn't work out. Like, what is this? I don't know. It's useless. Um, but I it was about the process, like realizing that
Yeah.
I hadn't done anything in a while and I'd made it too thick, and then cutting it back and then cutting through a bit that was thin. And okay, so you make these things sometimes because there's value in the process of creation, and we learn something and we edify ourselves as human beings and we fulfill ourselves in just being human and creating. And I think that's the sad thing about the world that we live in right now, is that we feel that with a capitalist agenda, if we can't justify what we're doing, then it's considered worthless, as opposed to, and that's probably the one big concern I have about AI, is the loss of process that's happening, is that going through the frustration of writing an article, going through the frustration of researching something is also part of how we integrate that information, and it turns into knowledge. And
Yeah.
so there's going to be a lot of people that know how to access a lot of information, but I think Googling how to grow lettuce so that snails don't eat them is going to be very different to actually planting the seed, watering them, growing them, um, having them eaten by snails, and starting
And
and
yeah,
realizing that
with,
different lettuce grows differently in your earth, which is a process I've been doing for 3 years now, until I've found somewhere with seed saved and we've reproduced them until we've found some that work really well in our garden. But I
yeah.
can AI the solution to that. It doesn't mean that I actually have turned that um, information into knowledge, or that knowledge into wisdom. And that's a process that I think is being undermined. But, we'll figure it out.
You remind me again, the lady from Google that you mentioned.
Yes. Leah Safina. So, yeah, this is her here.
Hi, Lai.
Leah, yeah,
Uh,
I think she said her name is Safina, Leah Safina. Um,
is there a takeaway that you'd like to share for like something that the main thing you took away from?
Yeah, it was from a different talk. It was at a podcast recording
Oh,
where Dan Rosen, the president of Warner Music Australasia, was being interviewed. And he's a bit obsessed with using other people's quotes. But this was one that he said that I thought was really good, which is, it takes a lot of effort to make something look effortless. And
yeah,
I think that effort, the value of that effort, is being undervalued right now with our focus on AI, because we're so focused on the outcome as opposed to the process. And I think to create really good music, and to create really good art, and really good food, and really good anything, we need to understand the value of the process and of the human component or contribution to anything. And that it takes a lot of effort to make something look effortless. So I was like, yeah, obviously. And
yeah. I suppose on the other side, I've heard the quote that if you haven't taken the time to bother writing something, why should I take the time to bother reading it? And also personally, the things that if you lead a good life, the things you value in your life are the things that you've expended effort and perhaps suffering into them. They're the things you value the most.
yeah,
So,
I think if anyone ever doubts the amount of effort that goes into making something beautiful, all you need to do is look at the feet of a ballerina. You know, they are people that train to the point where they are breaking their bodies. And yet when you see them on stage, what makes them magical is how effortless their movement is. And nothing could be more effortful than dancing on broken toes. I had a friend that was a prima in the UK, and she broke her back. Like, she dedicated her whole life to dancing. And then one day she broke her back on stage, and that was it. And her whole
yeah,
life. And people dedicate all that effort and all that energy into doing something that's so beautiful. And so you cannot replicate that without effort and without human input.
yeah. Okay. Guess what I'm up to? I'm about to fly to Brisbane.
Oh my God,
So
run.
thanks. No, I'm not. I'm not later today, but at the Committee for Economic Development of Australia AI Leadership event, I'm hosting a panel with the CEO of the Tech Council and a few others from AGL, Telstra, also the Australian Institute of Machine Learning. So it's going to be very exciting.
We're going to get some hot takes from
On-
that.
It's on the arms race, AI arms race. How's Australia going, and what can we do?
Yeah,
to
that's
as a,
intense. And
to,
that's we're going to have to talk. There's so many things. We have to talk about security. We also didn't get to talk about the panel that I moderated, where they were using music and tech to help heal people. That's something we need to circle.
Oh, we got so much to talk about. It's going to be fun.
Yeah.
Hey, I think we're almost at time, and I know we've got a hard stop. Can I share the one cool hack I had over the weekend? And it's so dumb, but you're going to love it. I sign up for Perplexity. Find it very useful.
No, yet.
And
We are not sponsored by them. Yep.
yeah, not yet, not yet. And any case, I needed to get a car cover because we've got a new car. We've only got one room in our garage for a car, and parked under the tree, and the tree's blossoming, being spring, and the birds are there in the car, and so I needed to get a car cover. And what's the worst thing about going to Bunnings?
Having to go to Bunnings. Like,
Well,
sorry,
for
it's
me,
my
it's
favorite store, but you have to speak to people and you have to walk around and you can't find what you're looking for. And
that's it.
yeah.
I can't find. So I asked purposely. I said, "I'm going to this Bunnings store. I'm after this. Tell me which aisle it's in." And it
On
told
the
me.
rabbit hole of like, do we need humans anymore? There we go. Let's come back to
Well, there wasn't a human nearby. So if there'd been a Bunnings person, I would have asked them because that would obviously be the quickest way.
worry.
But I couldn't find one. I just thought, oh, we'll see if it, and it nailed it. So there you go. There's your hack for the
Oh,
week.
well, don't know how I feel about that. Let's circle back.
Well, okay.
Right.
Well,
Good to see you, mate. I'll speak to you
yep. No
soon.
worries.
Bye.
See ya.